Hi, this is Lynn Widmeyer, and I thought in this season of Ghosts and Goblins, what could be better to talk about than West Virginia's own creature of the night, Mothman. Mothman was first sighted in Point Pleasant, West Virginia in 1966 at the site of an old munitions factory. Reliable witnesses who claim that really they did not have that much to drink say that the Mothman was a creature with a 10 feet tall, huge wingspan, and red eyes. So the rumor and the story of Mothman spread, and pretty soon more and more people started to see him. But his real claim to fame came the following year in 1967 due to the tragedy of the collapse of the Silver Bridge. The Silver Bridge spans the Ohio River, and it collapsed in December. Cars plummeted into the Ohio River, and lots of people died. But reliable witnesses say right before the bridge collapsed, they saw the Mothman on the bridge. Now, later studies from government said, well, actually, the bridge collapsed because of a structural failure, one of the pins that hold it together. But the Mothman became quite the local story, and they began to gain international and national attention with the movie with Richard Gere called The Mothman Prophecies. One of the most fun things to do with the Mothman is to go to the Mothman Festival, which Point Pleasant holds every year. My husband and I went several years ago and had a really good time. And here's a picture of him in one of the Mothman cutouts. But what I most remember is having a Mothman margarita, which I have a picture of as well, which is this horrible green. And I think I would much rather meet the Mothman in a dark alley than ever have that drink again. I was very fortunate to find out that we have a local resident here in Jefferson County who grew up in Point Pleasant and actually remembers when the Mothman made its appearance. So here's a little clip about what he remembers from that time. I am so fortunate today to have with me Densil Nibert, who is from Point Pleasant, West Virginia, and who was in 7th grade?
6th to 7th grade, yes.
When the Mothman made his appearance. So I've asked Densil to talk about what that was like when the Mothman came into town and what his family's reaction was. So what are your memories of the Mothman?
Well, of course, I was very young. I was like 11, 12 years old. And of course, there was no internet, and you got all your news from the newspaper, and you got it from our local TV stations. And I remember very vividly sitting especially at our dinner table with my dad of an evening when we were eating, and he thought it was all fiction. But everybody was talking about this large man or bird. You know, there were so many different theories, sightings, but it was the big talk around really everybody's homes. And every day I can remember reading the newspaper and on our local stations of this large bird appearing in Point Pleasant. And I can remember like it was yesterday. And of course, my family, they thought it was all fiction.
Did it scare you at all? Were people frightened that this giant 10-foot Mothman was in the neighborhood?
I think it did to some people, but my family and myself, like I say, my dad was so adamant that it was made up, was fiction. I do not ever remember being scared. I just remember the headlines of it making the news and supposedly scaring people.
Now, you have recently returned to Point Pleasant for, was it your high school?
My 50th high school reunion.
So Mothman is still alive and well in Point Pleasant for visitors.
It has just been great for the city of Point Pleasant. They have the the Mothman Festival, which just this past September attracted, they say, around 18 to 20,000
Isn't that
people
right?
into the town. And for the little town, it's, you know, the economics is not as good there. There's not as many jobs, not like we're used to here in Jefferson County. It's been exceptionally good. And my wife and I on Sunday returning back from, we stopped in town and took some pictures, and it was just great. So I'm really pleased. And I think the movie Mothman Prophecies really helped the situation. I know when I heard it was coming out, I think I was in the theater the first night. And my wife would get on me. I'd say, well, that's not true. It didn't happen that way. And she'd nudge me and say, because I live I live right through it. And but the movie was great. I really enjoyed it, and it is really.
And it featured Richard Gere. I mean, it wasn't like this low-end B movie. I mean, Richard Gere. Well, thank you so much. I think it's so much fun to have someone who was there at the beginning of a legend for West Virginia. And I'm so glad he didn't get you.
Oh, I'm glad he did.
Thank you, Densil.
All right, thank you.
If you'd like to see more videos from Lynn and the wonderful people of Jefferson County, scroll under this video to subscribe for future posts. Thanks for watching.